Okay, today is September 25th, 2023. Most likely this video will be released for September 24th, 2023, but this is my end of the month update. First off, as you can see, I got another Honda. There was a sneak peek of this in a video the other day from my auction purchases. This was one of them. Originally I thought this machine was going to be a dud, but I pressure washed it yesterday, and now we got a fuel pump and the engine cranks by the key. Before, the engine would only crank if you jump the starter. This thing seems to want to live, which is good. It's a fairly complete machine. All the casings are in decent shape. Body's in decent shape, better than the last one I had. It's just missing the seat, unfortunately. As you can see, the zero turn is gone, and a John Deere LA 135 has been put in its place. I picked this up from the owner of the zero turn. He gave me this machine. It has the Briggs & Stratton 22 horse under the hood. It needs steering work. It'll steer right sometimes, but it won't pretty much steer left at all. His son, I believe, got on here and was just turning the wheel without the machine moving. He's only 6, so he didn't really know. But brand new battery. It's got a new solenoid in it, but it's the wrong type of solenoid. I do already have a new one here for it. It's got brand new front hoops and casings. They're narrow, but they work. The backs have both been fixed. Like I said, the engine does start and run, but it's not really part of this video, so I'm not really going to include this machine starting and running. Also needs the ignition switch. He lost the key and they buggered up the ignition, so that's coming. The seat's being repaired, but most likely I'll put a seat cover on this just to make it look a little bit nicer. But this should be roughly $1,000 bill in the spring. This machine will be waiting until the spring. So a few things in this video have not changed. A few things in this video I did show on my review, my auction review video. So this here engine test stand has not changed. I gotta get this engine put away. I gotta get this fuel tank right here fixed. I have everything to fix it. It's a matter of doing it. Nothing over there has changed. The snowblower is still sitting there, waiting for it to go for scrap. This is the Homelight rototiller I picked up from auction as well. It runs, it will operate, needs carburetor work. Basically it'll fill up the bowl, it'll run on what's in the bowl, but it won't continue to fill up the bowl to continue to run. It's obviously the diaphragm type carburetor. Some people love them, some people hate them. I kind of hate them. So anyways, moving on. This is the deck from the LA 135. It was completely paint peeled, so I went over it with 1.5 cans of matte black spray paint, and it's drying right now. It is fast dry paint, but I'm going to flip it over, paint the underside, clean that up a bit. I would like to go over the top of this with gloss, potentially. I just don't have any gloss on hand, but this deck was pretty rough with the way the paint was peeling. There's still flakes of paint all around my yard. I pressure washed it. I cleaned it up as best as I could. Got a coat of paint on it. One thing I must say, the matte black is definitely sticking better than the gloss does. Moving on. Again, these are normally one-take videos, and that's the way I want to keep it. Murray, this is the free Murray tractor I picked up from my neighbor. It is pretty much fully stripped, ready to go for scrap. Be keeping the rear end. I'm going to keep some of the wiring out of the chassis, and then it's pretty much ready to go. This pile right here, everything here runs and drives, and one of them cuts, other than the racing mower, right now. I could hop on pretty much any of one of these machines. All all 5 of them that do run and drive have batteries in them. They all would start, they all would drive, and the Poulan XT would cut. The Kubota was cutting. It broke the PTO belt, so it's not cutting grass anymore. This is the Murray wide body that was sitting up in the junk pile. It's back up and running. It needs the rear hoop and casing swapped over. The engine or the carburetor's having some overfueling issues, so that needs to be addressed. And that's pretty much it for this one right here. The deck, I have one of 2 decks for it. I have this one right here, which is the rougher of the 2. This is the one that came off of it. Spindles are seized, and it's just an overall rough condition deck. And I have this one right here that came off the other Murray. It's in much better condition. Both spindles are good, and it's a fairly solid deck. But I have a third one, this 48-inch I picked up from auction. I believe the spindles on this can go on the Murray deck and fix the Murray deck. I'll have 2 Murray decks because I do kind of want 2 of them for something that's happening later on. I haven't showed in here in a little while. Four-wheeler's still taken apart, but it does run and drive. I gotta take the plow mount to my neighbor, get the plow mount modified. I gotta get that plow dug out, get this piece here taken off, so I can bring that over to my neighbor as well. He's going to re-weld it for me, so I can use that plow on this four-wheeler. I obviously have the front nose will go on. That's all the parts from the LA 135 deck. I have 2 pressure washers, a rototiller, 2 snow blowers, a antique car door, and some wood that goes around the patio cover for the winter, all stuffed in here. This pressure washer here is seized, but I do have plans on fixing it. Overall, it's in decent condition, so it is savable. I have an engine, which I'll show in a little bit. That, I believe it's a Home Light rototiller. It's an antique. I don't think it will run. I don't think it will ever run again. I might either use it as yard art or I'm going to post it up for sale. This Briggs & Stratton 2900 PSI pressure washer needs carburetor work. It's 9 horse. I replaced the pump. I actually swapped the pump from that pressure washer to this pressure washer. They're only about 300 PSI difference between them. Nothing you'll really notice. But this one needs carburetor work and it needs a wand. But it does run and it will work. So this one came from auction as well. Old Faithful, Alice Chalmers. It does its job. I don't really use it much since I use the machines I've been fixing, but it does start, run, and drive, but it does need a fuse. Over here, I almost forgot about this one right here. This is the Husqvarna from auction. I used it to cut the grass the other day. I pressure washed it the other day. Definitely turned out decent. It does need another washing eventually, but this machine will be going to super secret storage location for the winter. And the deck will come off. The deck needs to be painted and a few things done to that. It's nothing major. It's not as bad as the John Deere deck, but it does need to be repainted. So this one, quick pressure wash, couple coats of paint, it's good. Unlike the John Deere deck, big time pressure wash. Pretty much all the old paint came off and repaint. Moving on. These are a couple of the engines that are still in the back of the golf cart. Everything on the left is probably all parts. This Subaru engine here, it's a V-twin. I'm going to try and save it. It needs a starter from what I can tell. I'm going to take the starter off, see if I can clean it up a bit and get it working. But this, I'm hoping, will be a replacement engine for another machine. Unfortunately, this here is most likely scrap. I was originally going to try and save this machine. The coil bolts snapped off on it. They were very rusty. Both of them, the top snapped off, but they snapped off above the where the coil mounts. So I'm going to try and get them out, put some heat to them, and get them out. But there's no guarantees. Also, it's unfortunate with this fixed. How much is this machine worth? Is it worthwhile to fix this machine? So it might just end up going to the big tractor in China, if you know what I mean. I'll save the chute cover. I need that for another MTD deck. Actually, the one for the Cub Cadet. So, and then this thing might just end up going away. And speaking of the Cub Cadet, actually, let's walk back over there. I mentioned all of these, actually technically including the racing mower, will run and drive, but they'll all self-start. The Cub Cadet will self-start. I think in the last video it was broke down. I could be wrong on that, I'm not 100% sure. But it's pretty much running and driving, and put deck on, it would cut. I got to fix the PTO clutch, or I'll put the PTO clutch back on. It's been fixed, and it's pretty much ready to go. The roper, if I scrap the white, the roper will probably get fixed. But I'm really leaning towards most likely scrapping the white, since it's a 90s machine. It's not a very popular machine to begin with. It's not a popular body style, if you get where I'm coming at. If the coil bolts wouldn't have snapped off, this would have been fixed. Also, being a hydrostatic, is the transaxle fixable. It needs the C-clips replaced in the transaxle. Since typical MTD, the wheels were seized on, I went to take them off. The typical ways of taking them off, and it snapped the clip. So yeah, that's where we're at on that one at the moment. So the roper, I'm leaning towards potentially fixing it. I don't have side panels for it, but it could be a halfway decent machine for somebody. I think the deck is solid on it. I'm not sure if the deck spins, but I'm pretty sure the deck is solid. I have these other two decks right here. One is for my Yard Pro that's in storage. One is for this Yard Pro here. One is seized, one isn't. I believe that one there is seized, which is fine, because that Yard Pro is becoming a yard tractor. Yard Pro, yard tractor. And then this is, yeah, this is actually the good deck right here. Yeah. So most likely, if I can, swap all the spindles from this deck to that deck, since that deck right there is solid. This deck right here is crispy. Random junk. Scott's, this is what might be getting that Subaru V Twin. It currently has an 11 horse Briggs single cylinder, runs, drives, but I might end up putting that big Subaru engine in this. We'll see. I have to figure that out. Then this engine here is going to go in the Yard Pro. I'll have to put a fuel pump back on it, but that's not a big deal. And lastly, the tent shed up here. 1 second. Okay, in here there's a snowblower that's going to get scrapped. There's a couple engines down in here. That Honda came from auction. It needs a camshaft, or the camshaft gear. It's an overhead cam, so it needs that gear replaced. The timing belt seems fine, so that one I'm going to try and fix and use on something in the future, or just hold on to as an extra engine. That one right there is a Subaru engine. That's one I'm going to try and fix up and put on that other pressure washer. That one or the Honda, it doesn't really matter. The yellow deck is obviously for the Cub Cadet. The Cub Cadet deck is the one that needs that chute cover that's on the MTD. That's the deck for the Murray, and some random push mowers. And this engine right here came off the other Murray tractor. It does run. It's just in here for storage to keep out of the elements. I will be putting that Subaru engine in here eventually as well. Up here, that's a Kohler. I think that one does run. I'm not 100% sure on that one. This Briggs opposed actually runs really, really good. Down there are two other engines. One's a Kohler. Actually, yeah, one's a Kohler, one's a Ching Chang Chong. The Ching Chang Chong was a pressure washer engine. It kind of ran last time it was running. That cooler does run. That's the cooler that runs. And this cooler here, this is the cooler here. It's a mystery cooler. It should run, but I'm not sure about it at the moment. So that's pretty much everything in here. Back there's nothing really else. My Johnny bucket, and that's pretty much it. And some bikes and stuff like that. So overall, that's pretty much it. That's everything I've been working on. Everything that's still here. Like I said, a few things will be going away pretty soon. Most likely, the MTD white will be going. It's on the chopping block. A couple things will be saved, but is it worth fixing? That's where it comes down to with this machine. It needs 4 casings, which I do have, but the axle's being seized. If the back left wasn't completely destroyed, this machine I would have put an engine in this machine. But since the back left casing was completely destroyed on this machine, it just doesn't make it worthwhile to fix. And then afterwards having the transmission break. That issue right there makes this machine not worth it, unfortunately. But then again, being what it is, an MTD white. But I will give the engine one more chance to try and get those bolts out of the broken off coil. And give this a little bit more chance of potentially being saved. One more chance. If they come out, it'll be saved. If they don't come out, this thing is going away. That's pretty much where we're at on it at the moment, and that's the way it's going to be. So that's it. I gotta get an update at my super secret storage location. I'm actually on my way out there shortly. I gotta do some work out there. I don't know if I'll get an update video or not, but nothing's really changed out there. A few things will be going out there shortly anyways, and I might as well just do the video then. These engines down here, this big Kohler is complete for the most part. It might run. It would be a good parts engine for the one that's in the Yard Pro, but that engine's coming out anyways. That engine there, probably just parts engine, blown, but has good parts on it, and blown, good parts on it. So that's pretty much it. So I'll talk to them later. Please keep it redneck like always, and please subscribe and comment.